Hi, in this video I will show you how to create your 3D shells. Okay, 3D shells, for those who don't know, those are very thin provisional that you can place over the patient's teeth. That can be a quick way to show the patient a previous of their future smile, or you can also use it as a temp for your cases. So the first thing you have to do here after you place the teeth over the wax up and you already selected the teeth shape is to go here into mock-up and shell, which is over here on the top layer, and then move on to the mesh editor. Okay, I'm going to skip these steps over here, which I'm pretty sure you already have it. If you don't know how to do it, just go into the 3Ds My Design tutorial that you can find in our tutorial page. So going here into mesh editor, make sure that you open the mesh editor feature. You tap in any of these brushes that it's named flatten, deform, edges, smooth. You can tap on any of those and then select the maxilla intraoral scan and the maxilla design. Okay, just those two and hit done. Now the mesh editor will open and we will be able to make some adjustments in order to make sure that the design is ready for the 3D shell. Okay. All right, so over here in this mesh editor, basically you're able to make any changes in your wax up. But one thing that it's important is to make sure that the margins are following the patient's intraoral scan, margins in the intraoral scan. One thing to check is by selecting one of these tooth and then scroll down here on the bottom right corner and then select, hit the opacity button and slide it to the left and right to see if the margins are matching correctly. Okay, so that's one thing that it's important for you to do. And if you want to make any changes, you can simply select here deform, and with your brush you're able to make the changes. Okay, all right. So that's one thing that you have to keep in mind. Another thing that you have to keep in mind is here on the palatal side. So on the palatal side, you want to make sure that you have this area here cut in a way that the 3D shell will basically fit, kind of like fit like a glove onto the tooth. So in order to do that, you can use here the flatten button, which is right over here, and then change the size of your target. See here, like the smaller the target, the smaller the less it will remove. So like somewhere like this size would be great. Select the tooth first, and then you start to remove all the unnecessary area. Same thing over here. Actually, this one you should bring the opacity back, and then right over here I'm going to use deform, and I'll bring this a little bit closer. Another thing that it's important to have when you are creating your 3D shell is to make sure that you have a contact point that it's more aggressive than a regular contact point. And the reason why, it's because they need to be touching each other aggressively so that when you print, they kind of like come out as one piece. Okay? So make sure that it's kind of like going on top of each other. Not too much though, but enough to not break when you 3D print it. Okay, so I'm gonna just do like a couple here just for you to see it, you know, as an example. But basically, those are like the little main topics that you have to pay attention to when you are creating your dental shells, and the mesh editor will be the one to help you fix all these issues. Make sure also that you don't have this extra, I see like this extra tooth here. Make sure that you don't have that, because once you create a 3D shell, that will be kind of like floating around, and you don't want that. So any extra little tooth design, like here for example, make sure that you remove it. Okay. I can also use like the edge. It's kind of like more aggressive when it comes to removing it. So I like to use it for like small areas like that. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Okay. Okay, it's the edge right over here. That's the one that I'm using right now. It's optional. You can use it if you want. Okay, same thing over here. And then you can also use smooth. Okay, just to smooth the surface. All right, so now that it's nice and clean, actually there's a little bit here as well. Let me select the tooth first, and now, okay. All right, so now that it's nice and clean, you will hit apply, okay? So this button is right over here. If you don't hit apply, everything will be canceled. So this is super important, okay? So hit apply, which is right over here. All right, another thing that you have to pay attention to is to check the thickness of your design, because you have to have at least somewhere between 0.7 to 1.5 millimeters thickness. I know it's a little bit thicker, but that's like the required for a 3D shell. So you can go over here in either advanced or here CAD preset. Okay, let's go through here so we can follow the steps here. So that's step 1, CAD preset. And then you will select cross section. Okay, so the cross section will allow you to see if your shell is thin enough or has proper thickness for you to 3D print. All right, so I hit here cross section, and then I turn on the cross section. As you can see here, there's a button called set. Before it was off, so I clicked and now it's on. So if I look over here on the left side, I have my design and I have the cross section slider. And then on the right side, I have the image of the cross section. Over here, all the way to the right side, we have here a slider called position. And that basically goes over every single tooth. Okay, you can either do that or you can tap on the tooth over here, as you can see. Okay, so right over here, we have a plus sign, which allows you to zoom in. And here is where you can do the measurement. In the measurement, we have a button here called measurement. You turn it on, and then you take the measurement from the surface of the tooth, which is in green, to the inner side of the design, which is here in blue. Okay, now let me, all right, so it's a 0.5, so that's enough. You can also make more measurements if you want. You simply click on one end, then you click on the other end. Okay, and you'll be able to see the measurement. Well, but what if you have to make some changes? Let's say if it's too thick or too thin. you simply click on the tooth itself, as you can see here on the left side, and then you will drag the tooth out in however you want to do it. As you can see here, I'm dragging it out right now. So if I do that, for example, then my design, let me just delete this once and let me start over. My design here would be about 1 millimeter thick, okay? Depending on your 3D printer, 1 millimeter thickness is ideal. So check with your 3D printer and with your resin to see like which thickness you need in order to create your 3D shells. All right, you can go back and forth if you want. You can go, for example, to the next tooth, then do the measurement. Then if you go back here, the measurement will be saved. All right, and then once you checked in the thickness of every single design, you can then go over here, turn it off, and then create your 3D shell. But remember that to create a 3D shell, you must create some space in between the shell and the tooth so that you can place the cement, the resin, or whatever other material you want to stick those two materials together. Stick the material on the tooth together. It is recommended that you use either 50 microns or 100 microns in space. Okay, so over here, I'm gonna do 50 micron, and that micron will generate that space between the tooth and the shell so that you can place it onto the patient's teeth with the cement. With the 50 microns on, all you have to do now is to click shells to generate the model. The software will ask if you want to do it in 3 pieces or if you want to do it in 1 piece. So basically it's asking if you want to do, let's say, these two, like the canine and the laterals, separate from central and lateral, and then lateral and canine, or if you want to do just as 1 piece from canine to canine. Since it's 6 units, I'm going to do 1 piece, but if you're doing like all the way from here, let's say, second premolar, then it's better for you to separate them in 3 pieces. So let's tap here 1 piece, and now the software will automatically generate the 3D shells. It takes, depending on your internet connection and your computer hardware, it will take between 1 minute to 3 minutes. All right, and now, since the files is generated, all you have to do now is to either export it to your computer, to your iPad, or to your iPhone device, or you can send it to your 3D printer directly. All right, you can go to SmileFy.com and then look for solutions and look how to connect your 3D printer with your SmileFy. If you select export, you will receive the file. So all you have to do is to rename, so 3D shells, let's say patient, John, and then find where you want to export it. You hit save, and basically you are now done with your 3D shell, okay? This is how the shell would look like. Of course, here is a demonstration. Make sure that you have a proper thickness. Actually, this is good that I have a little hole in here. As you could see, I wasn't paying attention to this. I was just demonstrating those 2 centrals, and the centrals are fine. But this one is very thin, and there is a little hole in there. That's why it's important for you to check on the proper thickness. Make sure that you have enough thickness on your 3D design, and you can check that with the cross section for you to prevent from having this little holes in here. Okay, so thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.